Okay, we are off, just headed out of Midland Harbour, Town Docks. Now we're just gonna go right across the bay here, just a short jaunt over to Bayport Yachting Centre for a pump out again. We have another gorgeous day ahead of us, and ahead of us lies the 30,000 islands of Georgian Bay, where we will be visiting today. Bayport Yachting Centre, Bayport Yachting Centre. This is Boogaboo. Boogaboo, do you read over?
Boogaboo, this is Bayport. Go ahead, please, over.
Good morning, Bayport. We are just heading up towards your fuel dock. I just want to confirm that there are hands on the dock. Just give us a hand in, over.
That's affirmative. We currently have 2 dock hands on the fuel dock to catch you, over.
Roger that. Okay, we will see you in a couple of minutes. Boogaboo will stay on the side of 6-8.
Not a problem. This is Bayport. We're standing on 6-8.
Well, as you have seen, it is a little bit hairy going through the stretch that we just did here on Georgian Bay, community known as Honey Harbour. It's reported to be one of the busiest waterways in Canada, and today being Sunday and a beautiful day, as you can imagine, the traffic is even more accentuated, shall we say. And yes, there's a lot of idiots on the water everywhere, especially on a Sunday. And in a place like this, like I've told Anchor Girl in the past, Honey Harbour and the waterways are just an extension of the big highway that comes from Toronto, which is called the 400, which is a crazy highway at the best of times. Everybody knows it's got a bad reputation. And people just get up here they jump on their boats and they just zip to their cottages wherever they're going. Many of the cottages around here are only water-based, like you can't get to them by road, by car, so they fly up the highway to get on the boats and fly up the waterways to get to their cottages or the liquor store or kids for take the kids for ice cream or whatever. So that's what you got going on there. Thankfully now we are past Honey Harbour, and I just want to show you this a little bit more in detail. This is a place called Monument Channel, and it is off the small craft route. It's one of the side trips, and it's pretty, so that's why we've taken it, and it's slow. That's where we're heading in there now. That's the main small craft route, and this is an alternate route. Very well marked and very pretty. And this is
the summer course.
This is the essence of Georgian Bay. What are the two words that describe this, my dear?
Yes, sir, go 7.
Rocks and trees. Now this captures the essence of Georgian Bay. Rocks and trees. If you've ever heard of the Group of Seven, it was a bunch of painters from back in the 1920s and 30s, I believe. You have to look that one up. And they were infamous for coming up here and capturing these scenes and putting them on canvas. Brush to canvas. And an overriding theme was these windswept pines. So if you ever look up Group of Seven painters and their paintings, you'll see that and you'll remember this. Very picturesque. But that always comes to mind with me is how brutal this would be in the winter up here. For the winters that we get in Ontario, and the fact that it's wide open to the west, coming off of Georgian Bay, Lake Huron, this would be just hellish as far as I'm concerned, come winter time. It's pretty in the summer. or beside us. Lots of markers, which is a good thing. You can see here where it looks seemingly wide open, but the markers are close in. That's because that is Georgian Bay. Well, at least the 30,000 Isle is part of it. Because as open as the water looks, there are rocks and hazards lurking just below the surface everywhere. A few years back, we were up here with friends, and we went to, we were staying at a place called Henry's, which is where we're going to try and get into today. Excuse me. And I hired a float plane to take myself and two buddies up in the air, and we flew around and had a look what this looks like. And we flew down as far south as this area here where we are right now. It's called Big David Bay. And I'll show you some of the footage that I took back then from that trip, which was awesome and amazing. I would love to do it again. But you'll see just beyond the markers there are shoals and rocks absolutely everywhere, and you know, many that you cannot see from the surface. So one must pay attention to their charts and pay attention to the markers and know where they are at all times. A lot of people who boat in our area on Lake Simcoe specifically will not come up here to Georgian Bay, although it's only, you know, it's a day's trip away through the Trans-Severn Waterway, which is a beautiful trip all by itself, but they will not venture out onto this body of water because they've heard the horror stories about people hitting bottom, ripping out drives off. So yeah, for that reason and all the other horror stories that people have heard, there's a lot of people who will not venture out onto here, which is too bad because it's definitely beautiful. Some of the nicest, prettiest freshwater boating in the world, many would argue, especially loopers who come up from the States, American boaters, and they go through here on their way, on their circumnavigation of North America, the east side of North America at least. And many will report after the fact how beautiful the scenery is here, which it is. This is all formed, well, to a great extent during the last couple of ice ages. The last one was about 12 or 13,000 years ago. And the ice was so thick here at this point that it actually compressed this part of North America. Ontario, Michigan, Ohio, those areas compressed the ground because of the weight of the ice. And that has been rebounding ever since, over the last 12, 13,000 years since the ice melted and the water's receded, because of course it's lighter. And the rocks here were folded and turned due to these geological factors over time. And the rocks are so pretty. It's so neat to see where it's like somebody took dough and just folded it over and flipped them down. And you can see the different strata in the rocks. Really pretty stuff. And some will be facing this way, other ones will be facing that way, and you can just see the forces that have been at work here. It's awe-inspiring. And one more reason why we are so insignificant. The very first time Anchor Girl and I came along this route, well, this far into Georgian Bay, the route takes you one more or less northbound until you get here, and like I said before, we're heading almost due west right now. And since the prevailing winds in this part of the world are from the west-northwest, the fetch comes down here. Even though it wasn't particularly windy that day, it was a little bit breezy, wasn't too crazy, but the fetch had come down because it had been windy a couple of days, the preceding couple of days. And so we rounded that corner and we were heading in here, and we were into like true honest 6 to 7 foot swells. A lot of people say, oh, I was going through 10-foot waves. A lot of them are full of shit. They don't know how to count. But anyways, we were in true 6 to 7 foot rollers, and that wasn't our previous boat, our 30 foot, which was a lot lighter than this one. And time of the day that we were hitting this, it was a couple hours later in the day, maybe around 4 or 5 o'clock. So the sun was a little bit lower in the sky. Well, it was probably there. Anyways, I was squinting into the sun. And one of the few times I actually asked Anchor Girl to stand up beside me to show me what the markers were, help me pick out the markers in the distance. But anyways, we did it, we made it. Got all the way to Parry Sound and back by ourselves, nobody helping us, not following anybody, and that was a proud moment indeed. How they're all bent out of shape and all twisted and everything else. It's really cool. And this is at another narrow passage along the inside, well, the small craft route through here. This is called Starvation Bay. Now I just called a security on the radio, just giving everybody a heads up that we are passing through here. Since it is so narrow, unfortunate part is most people do not listen to their radios, nor do they heed the warning. So, but I gave it a shot anyways. See, it's somewhat of a blind corner coming around here. Now once we're through this little body of water called Starvation Bay, and yes, you will hear the term bay many times on Georgian Bay. Georgian Bay, this area is called the 30,000 Islands, simply because there are so many little islands, in excess of 60,000 as a matter of fact. But they should have called it 30,000 Islands and 30,000 Bays, because there are so many pretty little bays that one can venture into. Anyways, when we come around this corner, you will see a big tower in the distance, and that is our destination for tonight, if we can get in, hopefully so. There, as been foretold, we've come around the corner. I'm heading back due north now, and we are seeing off in the distance a cell phone tower right there. And that is right next to where we're going to be staying. That is on Frying Pan Island, and that is right behind an establishment called LeBlanc's, which is a store and a gas station that sells super overpriced gas. And where we hope to be staying tonight is...
I heard you're not selling gas anymore.
No, LeBlanc's I'm talking about for gas. Where we plan to be staying tonight at Henry's, which is not selling gas anymore, is right next door to it on the island. First time we came up here a number of years ago, we walked from Henry's through the island. There's a couple of footpaths over to LeBlanc's, and I named that path and that place Mosquito Island because it was full of mosquitoes. But now we just take the dinghy around. Now, just approaching Henry's, and this area is called Sans Souci, which means in French, without cares. Just immediately to our right to the east is an island called Wreck Island, and right beside it rests the remains of a ship that went down in 1879, the Wabano. We went there about 4 years ago, roughly, with a dinghy, and I took some GoPro video of it. We might, if we have a chance while we're here, if it's a nice day, we might dinghy over there and do that again because it's so much fun. Wreck Island, the Wabano. That is the aforementioned LeBlanc store and gas stock. Like I say, their fuel prices are at a huge premium here, simply because it's on an island in the middle of nowhere and you're miles away from the next fuel stop. And that is world famous Henry's fish restaurant right there, coming up on our port hand side. Looks like they got a big one pulling out. Maybe we can get that spot. I'm gonna give them a shout.
Vessel looking for dockage, come in on 6-8, over.
Roger, this is Boogaboo. We are the blue top sedan bridge out in your harbor.
Roger that, you're looking for the overnight slip, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you take a bow in, port tie over?
I can so.
On the north side of dock number 6, just in front of the small Baja in the front.
Yeah, roger that, thank you.
What do you got, Dan? What are these other vessels? None of them have called in yet.
Misbehaving's out here, 31-foot sea ray, looking for overnight dockage.
We're going where I said, on the other side of 6.
6 behind that Baja, yeah.
Stand by.
Anyways, did you want me to just drive around that little boat, or is he moving, or what's your plan? Yep.
What?
He said, hold on a second. He gave me the 1 minute sign.
The other vessel sitting out there, back to Henry's on 6-8, other than the blue sea ray. You guys have been misbehaving, 31-foot sea ray, stand by over.
It's worth the wait at Henry's. Yep. Roger. Yep. We're good, guys. Yeah. And we're here. We're back.